Well, welcome to Your In Depth, where we break down and walk through our favorite fictional universes. As usual, I'm Jacob, and I'm here joined by Casper, the ghosting co-host, who refuses to answer my phone calls if he doesn't have to work that day. We that's like, I think that's probably the most direct shot at you I've ever taken, and you're just like,
Full send orgers.
well, all right. Well, anyway, wanted to start off right. We got 3 Star Wars news stories that, because we haven't covered Star Wars in a while, they may be a little bit outdated, but I want to mention. But very first, I want to thank our most recent Apple podcast review. We have a new one from Names Seth. And Evan, you and I know this person, but they have finally, they have, and actually, come to find out, this is their second review. Remember that one all the way back from December?
The last one we got?
Yeah, that was his, apparently.
Really?
Yeah, apparently. But anyway, thank you to Seth for the review. He writes and actually poses a pretty good question that I wanna ask the audience as well as you, Evan. He writes, by far the coolest and nerdiest show I listened to in regards to going over the details of the movies and books. I'm looking forward to a Harry Potter series, possibly. The hosts Weenie Hut Jr. and the One Wipe Wonder are a perfect duo. Awesome podcasts in my rotation. So, my question is, which one of us is Weenie Hut Jr. and which one is One Wipe Wonder? And also, I guess I have another question. Is the One Wipe Wonder like a positive thing or is it a negative? Because like it's super positive if you only have to wipe once, but it's also super negative if you only wipe once. Like
facts.
If you have to wipe once and that's it, like that's awesome. I love those. But if you're only wiping once, that's freaking disgusting.
Time out. You have times where you only wipe once?
Yeah, you never have that? It's called a Jesus poop.
No, like I always, at the very minimum, 3 wipes. At the very minimum.
I just think you have a dirty butt.
Like, like I make sure there's nothing back there because I want to be clean.
Suppose
if you're doing one wipe wonders, I don't know how I feel about that.
Never mind. I retract what I was going to say. No, I can't retract what I haven't said.
So anyway. I called dibs on Weenie Hut Jr.
Weenie Hut Jr. All right. All right. Now, I can see you being Weenie Hut. And I'll just take the positive side of One Wipe Wonder.
I'm definitely throwing that negative side at you, Jacob.
Shut up. No, it's positive, dude.
Well, anyways, thank you, Seth, for that review.
Yes, and I was talking to him, and I asked for some feedback, and I don't think that this is one of those reviews where it's just because you know the person, you're being nice. Like, he genuinely seems to enjoy, and it's fun to hear. So, speaking of that, I would really like to hear from, any other of our listeners. So please, really want to encourage you to, leave a review. Let us know your thoughts. Get in contact with us. We got the email, the Discord, now TikTok and Instagram, all that stuff. We would love to hear your feedback. Anything that we can grow with and build upon, we want to know. So please do that. But anyway, diving into our Star Wars news. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series apparently has finished filming and production, and this was a little while ago, so you may have already seen this, but apparently that's finished filming, so coming at us, hopefully, obviously this coming year. They put the date on it.
Very soon. Hopefully.
Yes. And also, yes, you did hear R2-D2. My phone is on... not on silent, and I'm going to keep it that way. Why not? It's all Star Wars themed anyway. Yeah, hopefully sooner rather than later, but the date for it has been 2022. So, it'll come.
Well, the other thing, like early 2022.
I hope so. Yes.
Yeah.
Ideally, like Q1, but The other thing was that, you know what? I'm not even going to treat this like it's news. There was some sort of rumor or kind of a thing where The Mandalorian may either change names or be canceled or done after season 3. I don't really know if that's not really news, but I wanted to just present it as potential because it kind of made sense in that the show's focus may shift, right? We've got obviously spoilers happening. I can't even bring it up now. I realize. Never mind. There's a lot to do with it. There's just
Yeah.
other angles that they may shift it to. I'll
Well,
say that.
and I guess the best way to say it is like in the finale of season 2, right?
Yes,
Specific events happen
right,
to
and
where season 3 could just be kind of a wrap up,
it
kind of
could
like
be
ending the
yes,
storylines for like Mando and a couple of the other characters we've been
yeah,
introduced to,
yeah,
um,
and
because
or
of
but
specific
even
events that happened at the end of season 2.
right, and there's a lot of new shows coming out that the characters Mando and the child will still be around, but the story's focus may shift to other characters. We don't
Yeah.
know. It's just speculation. It's probably not even worth saying, but I did notice that, and I thought it was kind of interesting. The only other piece of news that I wanted to introduce was kind of more of a sad piece of news, but also a strong like wish you well kind of thing. The voice actor Tom Kane, he is known for being Yoda in the Clone Wars, Admiral Yularen, the narrator of that, and so many other voices. Has kind of been, I want to say, forced into retirement because he suffered a stroke that severely has kind of affected his speech. And in that, he is, well, obviously a voice actor needs his voice, and so
He
he is
also did
retired.
voices in SpongeBob.
God bless America. My phone is going off like crazy. I'm gonna switch it
Well,
off.
put it on silent.
I am now. I was keeping it.
Um, but yeah, I had seen that as well, and that
Yeah.
sucks. It really does, and hopefully he has as good of a recovery as you can from having a stroke. But and like I said, I had seen that same thing too, and so like if it's affected that his voice that much, like
Yeah.
hopefully he
And
can recover to as best as possible. But it does suck that he's kind of been forced
yeah.
to
hmm
you know hang
And
up the robe or cloak, or whatever the saying is. I don't know.
I think just maybe coat, but either way,
Sure, we'll go with that. Yeah,
I don't
sounds
know.
good.
I don't know. Hang your hat. I don't freaking whatever phrases. But
Hang
yeah,
up his
I
boots.
mean,
I don't know. Just hang up his
yeah,
socks.
yeah. I don't know. But he, it's one of those things where it's like life throws something at you, and throws curveballs. But his work is much appreciated, and we love that he's been the just as iconic as he is. But yeah, hope for him a speedy recovery and a true thank you for the career that he's had. Um,
Absolutely, yeah. And
yeah.
I would just say too on that,
hmm
um, because he did do voices for like clones, and a lot of different characters, and
Did he
um,
do clones? I thought that was D. Bradley
I
Baker.
I thought he did.
Um,
I don't know. But regardless, he's done a lot of
yeah,
different
yeah,
voices for
whatever.
the animated Star Wars TV shows and whatnot. So that potentially could affect some other shows like the Bad Batch for like their season 2 and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah,
I
for
don't know if
sure.
he's done voice acting for that show or not.
And I
But
haven't seen it, so I couldn't confirm it.
we
Um,
could see some changes to some of those animated shows because of this unfortunate
yeah,
curveball.
yeah,
So I guess just be aware of that whenever because they are planning like season 2 for like Bad Batch, and um so I think that's like the big one right now, animated
yeah.
wise. So I think that's the one where we potentially could see some, I don't want to say issues because that's not the right word, but some
Maybe
changes
some, yeah, changes. I think would be the best
because of
way
it.
of
Yeah,
putting that.
but
But yeah, so I've said pretty well what I needed to say regarding that. I just wanted to, that was a news story where I was like, oh dang, that happened. And like I said, a true thank you for the impact and the, career and all that, and a sincere, hope you speedy recovery and do well, and recover for that matter, and yeah. But anyway, so we are going to be covering the Mandalorian chapter 12. It's titled The Siege. Yeah, I don't know of anything else before getting into that, so I say we start walking through it.
Indeed.
Yeah, so also, I want to just throw in there, so far, I feel like I am going to have a tendency to rattle on, and things are not going to be smooth this episode. We have been away from this for a little bit.
Well.
So I don't know, but we're gonna go for it. Um, so we enter into the episode. Opening scene, we see Mando in his ship. He is directing the child to navigate some wires. He's had the child kind of be tucked away into like a little hard to reach place so that he can rewire the ship. And he's just commanding the kid, being like, okay, listen, touch this wire, do this. And the kid's just kind of looking like, holding the wires like, okay, not knowing what he's doing. But he's, Mando keeps warning him. He's like, don't touch the wires together, okay? Just no matter what you do. And the child like kind of looks like, oh, you mean like this? And starts to do it. And he's like, yeah, don't do that. And then he does it, and it just sparks go everywhere.
Yeah, I think we just need to clarify too. The Razor Crest is still in bad shape from
Yes.
the last couple episodes.
And I guess, yeah, backing up a little bit, if we remember, he crashed down onto onto the one planet. I can't think of the name of it now, but the ice planet. Remember where we saw the spiders and stuff?
Yeah.
And severe damage. Got it kind of patched together on the next Mon Cala thingy. That
yeah,
whatever it's called, the planet.
But they're still working on fixing the Razor Crest because of those damages that were sustained, and that's what's happening right now. But the child does get a nice big old zap from those cables.
Yeah.
And it does jump to Mando and the child having some food as they're sitting in the Razor Crest.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I was looking at my phone because I'm a bad host. Yeah, Mando comments on how they need to visit some friends for some repairs. The child and him drink some tea or something. They're just kind of, they have something that they're doing. And we change scenes, and it kind of cuts to this, like, it almost seems like a den of thieves or something. Like some, bandits. They're arguing about something, and they're about to like cut some squirrel's head off to eat it. It's not a squirrel, but it's whatever it is. It looks like one.
It looks like a ferret, honestly.
Yeah, kind of. But yeah, they're about to do that, and then something makes a noise, and in comes Cara Dune. She enters in and fights them, and then collects some coin and like something else after she just kicks their butts. And this little ferret thing climbs up onto her, like onto her shoulder, kind of like, oh, thank you. And then she leaves. And, as she walks out, we get the title card.
Yeah, and I do just want to preface as well, I don't even think that's the right word, but they do refer to her as the Marshal.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember if we got that information in a prior episode, but she's kind of like, she's a lawman now. Instead of just, being I don't want to say outcast, I don't think that's the right word. But she's actually like, upholding the law for the Republic now in the Outer Rim.
Yeah. And I'm going to jot down the time super duper quick because I have a piece of facial hair that I missed, and it is irritating me. So I'm gonna
Oh
just
my
quickly
goodness.
just trim that. Sorry, it's right around the corner. You'll even be able to hear the thing. Returning. Okay, yeah. So title card. She's the marshal now. Um, then we cut in and we see Mando. He enters in on the Razor Crest. He enters into a planet that we see Grief Karga and Cara Dune there, and
Yeah,
his,
and the planet
yeah.
is Navarro. That
Okay,
the
yeah.
planet we started the entire show off back in like season 1, episode 1.
Hmm.
Um, I guess not started there, but like that's where the bounty hunter guild was and all that Mando worked for. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the planet they're on. As you said, we see Car- Kara and whatever his name is. And the Razor
That's
Crest
her
is having
name
some
from.
problems.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's her name
Yeah.
from now on. By the way, it's Car. um.
Um,
Yeah, but no, the ship has seen better days for sure.
yeah, and
Um,
because as he goes to exit, like that ramp on the back doesn't even go down all the way.
yeah. um, yeah, but he lands and Grief comments and he's like saying how it needs some repairs, and then instructs some people to do it. Um, we then learn that, and maybe it was said before, like you said, I'm not too sure, but we learn that Kara is the marshal of the town, and Grief is kind of doing like some like clerical work or something. I don't exactly know for that, but they've been busy at trying to clean things up. You know, when we last saw it, there was a lot of stormtroopers and remnants of the Empire. You know, having their base there and operating.
Yeah,
Um,
and I mean it's even more like it's more lively now too as we see it. The scene progress. There's a lot more people out and about, going from stall to stall. Buying things. You get like the sense that like it's a
yeah,
much happier place now because of Kara and Grief. Um, or what's his name? Is that it? Grief?
yeah, Grief Karga.
Yeah, Grief Karga, that guy. Um, but yeah, you definitely get the sense that like because of those two and the work that they're doing now, it's a much better place than when we last saw the planet.
Yeah, yeah. But
And
we
if I'm not mistaken, Grief is working for Carla. He's kind of like
is
her
he
secretary now.
Yeah, it kind of seems like he was like more of a secretary, but is he like working for her? Or are they
I
like
believe
working to?
so.
Oh, maybe. I guess then. Um,
But we do see them come into like essentially a school. We see children sitting at desks, and we see a protocol droid up there. Giving them a lesson.
mm-hmm.
Um, just talking about like the different uh, hyperspace lanes and stuff like that from between the outer rim and the inner rim, or in the core worlds, I guess.
Hmm.
Kind of giving that kind of a lecture, I guess, to the children.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it's here that we. Oh yeah, no, it was right before that. Yeah, I see. Here. um, is it right here that Mando drops the child off there?
Yeah, so there's one desk still open, and they put the child in that desk, and Mando, Grief, and Kara leave, and we kind of see the child eyeing some snacks that one of the students is eating.
Yeah, it's like a blue little like wafer type thing.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, he's eyeing it and stuff, and it's yeah, some blue like Girl Scout cookies or something. I don't know, but um, the child opens up his hand to ask for one, and the student's like, "No, dude, no, get your own," like basically. And then the child uses the Force to grab the cookies and eats them, and the child just the other kids is just kind of staring at him, and he's just. Um, But we then see here, because we cut over to Mando and Grief and Kara, they all go into what is basically their office now, and we see that first target that Mando was hired to get is working off his debt and like working with them and like as a payment of his debt to Grief and Kara. And in here they talk a little bit about an Imperial base they could take out and make the place all the more safer. So they go and if I'm moving a little fast, you can draw me back in like normal. But we they take off to go check it out.
Yeah.
The blue dude is driving,
The
and
only thing I would say is
yeah,
just because I think it's kind of funny, as they're talking literally right before they take off, so it's not even like going back that far.
yeah,
But Grief kind of makes a comment of like, yeah, working off your 350 years, but who's counting? Like, he's
yeah.
gonna be working for a while.
um, yeah. But they get there, and Mando flies up to the top, and like to go check it out. And as the others are like seeking a way in, a trooper falls down near them. Then a little bit later, the rest meet up with Mando, and we see that. Well, he's been busy. There's a lot of troopers just dead.
Well, I mean,
um,
Mandalorians and whatnot,
well, But they then work their way throughout the place, knocking out one of the security guards. Um, they come into an area that like has a huge pit of lava, like at the down at the base of it, and they have the blue guy go and deactivate the coolers. So this is like their heating system or something, their power. I don't know, but he's deactivating coolers so that it's basically gonna overheat and explode.
yeah, woo, big explosion.
And as he does that, the lava starts kind of bursting and heating up, and we see it kind of being a little more reactive and just something happening. And apparently they have 10 minutes to just yeet out of there before they explode. So they begin running. They run into some stormtroopers, and so they decide to go the other way. As they come in to shoot some more officers, they begin. They come into another room, and also this has been like maybe a month since I've watched this episode because we've been that delayed in actually getting out. Not actually, it's been more than, dude. I've got the
Yeah.
notes for this, and this is why I'm stuttering through this so much because I'm trying to remember what happened. Because generally I'll watch it the day of, take my notes so it's fresh in my memory, and I can just go through it and remember what happens. Right now, I'm just going off of what I got written. But
Well, so when they show up for those
yes.
officers, though, they start getting in that a quick little fight. But one officer is shooting back at the four of them, but the other one is shooting the terminals, like trying
Right,
to
yeah.
destroy them, to cover up whatever data they have. And I don't remember if this is supposed to be like a research outpost or secret weapons. I don't remember for sure. But I'm looking at it now. It looks like it's a cloning facility. Actually, just seeing the episode now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of goes back to that whole thing I assumed when I first saw the episode of why the Empire was trying to get the child in the first place. And because I'm trying to think.
That's never a good sign.
I know. Brain
Yeah.
hurts.
Yeah, dude, you're oof.
But Kara is making kind of the comments. It's not a weapons facility. It's some sort of lab that they're trying to do research in, and it looks like from like the scene I'm looking at, it does look like a cloning facility of some sorts or an attempt at a cloning facility.
Yeah, there's like, isn't there like tubes of like, just like people basically, like
Yeah.
things that are they're trying to, yeah, do.
And we do see like a hollow recording of that doctor from season 1.
Right, Dr. Pershing, I believe.
Yeah. And there's a recording of him there, like, kind of like almost like research notes.
Yeah.
And he's talking about essentially how, like, they had samples, but the tests that he's been trying to run to make copies have been, all failures. Like, they start out pretty good at first, but then, the body rejects the blood that he's trying to, like, put it, fuse in there to make
Yeah.
whatever clones they're trying to make.
Right, and
Um,
he addresses this message to Moff Gideon, if I'm not mistaken, and we kind of understand what has been going on, I think. I think here's a safe assumption into the reasoning. In that Moff Gideon was wanting the child's blood because he's got an extremely uh, high sensitivity to the Force. So he's wanting the blood to create new Force sensitives.
yeah,
But
and
in their research, the body has rejected the child's blood, and a lot of, they've had their trials and all that
and
stuff.
yeah, and Dr. Persian even says, like, he mentions, like, their samples having like a high M count, or if you've watched episode 1, midichlorian count,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, I'm trying to get the exact spot pulled up where he mentions it. Um, yeah, because he mentions that, he doubts they'll be able to find a donor with a higher M count or a higher midichlorian count than, the samples that they already have.
Mm.
Um, and so with that, and with what we've seen, and with what we hear Dr. Pershing saying in the recordings here, um, he does recommend that, they suspend their tests until they can get more samples,
Mm-hmm.
which all just, leads back to some sort of cloning going on, trying to make more force sensitive beings for
Right.
bad purposes. You know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's probably trying to reestablish the empire or something like that using them.
Yeah, and I mean,
There's a
from
lot of things he could be doing, but it's probably not. Let's get force sensitive so we can reestablish the Jedi Order kind of good.
well, and I mean, from what we've seen of, Dr. Pershing, the few scenes that we've seen him in thus far, you
Yeah.
know, he's not in it for the bad. He's not in it for the diabolical. He's in it for the science. Whereas,
Yeah,
like,
he's
Moff
trying to.
Gideon and, like, those higher ups of the remnants of the Empire are like,
Right.
we want these dudes so we can reestablish the Empire.
Right. Yeah. He's in it for the science and probably for the for it being a job. He's not. He doesn't.
Yeah.
Share the same values as his employer. Uh,
Because, I
and
mean, if I
you
remember
know.
correctly, when we see him back in season 1, when Mando goes back and gets the child after he drops him off and all that,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Persian even makes some of the comments of, like, not wanting to kill the child, and, like, the only reason the child's still alive is because Dr. Persian pushed so hard for him
Right.
not to kill him.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. When Mando had gotten the child back, he was like, don't kill me. He's alive because of me.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, from the few scenes we've seen of Dr. Pershing so far, I don't think he's a bad dude.
He's just
Just
working for bad people.
yeah, like to an extent, he's a bad guy, right? But not like solely bad. I do truly think that he's more so in it for the science and for a job,
Yeah.
rather than diabolical scheming and all that.
Yeah. Yep.
And then I'm trying to think of where we get the information. It might be Legends now,
Hmm.
but at one point, I believe it's in one of the comics. And I couldn't tell you which one, but at one point there is attempts to clone, Force sensitive or like full blown Jedi or Sith, and they fail like catastrophically. Like, doesn't work in the slightest because of the whole high midichlorian count.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't remember if that's Legends now or not. I'd have to double check on that.
Well, I guess it would
Um,
make sense just thinking about it, because like you probably can't clone the makeup of like midichlorian,
yeah, and I
right? You
mean,
can't clone that part of it, but you can clone the being that it was part of, and then in that there's probably complications because it's built into the original. I don't know.
yeah, and there's comics too where, and I know, and it is canon. There are some clones, Clone War style clones, that are force sensitive.
Hmm.
Like they're not like Master Yoda style or like even like uh Padawan style force sensitive, but like they have like that hyper awareness, that high reaction speed and whatnot, and that is because they are
Uh-huh.
slightly force sensitive. Because even though they're clones, each life form in the Star Wars universe has their own individual midi-chlorian count. Whereas like
Yeah.
for every single clone, it's pretty low, but there are ones and twos that have a little bit higher than the rest.
Do we know which clones?
As far as I'm aware, I think there's only one or two that actually names are given to, but it's not any that you see in like the
Well,
Clone
no, no, no.
Wars
I
or
I
anything
wasn't
like
thinking
that.
it.
But
I
I
wasn't
I'm
thinking it. Go
I
ahead.
can't think of their names right now.
Okay. I wasn't asking if it was any well-known clones. I was just trying to think. I'm like, because I if I had to place my bet, it may probably not be that one clone in the Clone Wars movie that punched the droid.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I was pretty
It
spot
could
on,
be, I guess. I
potentially.
don't know. Anyway.
But yeah, but so like, and I I want to say it's Legends. The whole attempting to clone a Jedi or Sith or a very high midichlorian count force sensitive person.
Yeah.
I want to say it's Legends, but I do like I said at one point, whether it's Legends or canon now, it was attempted and it was an utter failure, like zero success whatsoever. Um, and I would say if it was Legends, it might as well be canon now because of what we're seeing here in the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Just based off of the assumptions that we're getting from this scene.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so we get that kind of the backstory there, kind of what's going on. It's not so much a backstory, but we get the reasoning, I suppose.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so Mando kind of pieces it together that Moff Gideon must still be alive. He, realizing this, takes off to go get the child because it's
Yeah.
like, obviously, I think more of a panic, like there's a threat still out there.
Yeah,
Not so much
and
he thinks he's immediately in danger, um, but
well, and we even do. Dr. Persian literally right there at the end of that recording that we see even mentions that if tests are to continue on schedule, they're gonna need access to the donor again.
right, yep. So
So
that
that's like
increases the
an immediate red flag for
yeah,
Mando.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah, and I kind of missed that part, but that is kind of being like, oh, that's why they want the child. I need to protect him. He realizes that and takes off. And the others were going to meet up with him later.
well, and as soon
Um,
as they get ready to take off, they do get attacked by a couple of stormtroopers.
yeah,
Um, but again, in typical Mandalorian fashion, they take them down pretty quick.
yeah,
Um, but then they do, as you said, like you said, they do split up. Mando's going back for the child. The other three are going to, ensure that the station actually blows up and get out of there alive.
hmm
Um,
yeah, and
and it just kind of goes. It's going back and forth really between Mando and the other three as they're
right,
making their way through the facility right now.
yeah, and Mando, yeah, he makes his way to the lava reactor thing because it had a big vent at the top, so he like flies out the top and he kills some troopers along the way. The others, yeah, are still making their way out. They encounter some more troopers and end up getting like in this little like transport bus tank thing
Hmm.
where Kara hijacks it, and then they get in and they take off, and they drive off the platform and crush the blue guy's speeder. um, to which he's kind of like at first like I don't think he realizes what happened, but then he's obviously not too happy about it. Um, but they drive off Yeah, and some scout troopers follow them. Two of them mess up and just crash into one another and die.
Well, I mean, you know,
But
them the big jobs.
yeah, and so the scout troopers that are remaining chase the armed like tank thing. Grief gets onto the gun and mans it, and they kind of they begin a chase. They defeat the scout troopers who are on speeders by blowing them up, crashing them, whatever. Meanwhile, the lab blows up, and then in comes some TIE fighters. Uh, Kara and Grief and whatever the blue guy's name is try to evade and shoot at those, but they keep missing. Um, Grief hits one, and if I'm not mistaken, it kind of crashes on them and damages his gun.
Yeah, and I don't. We haven't really touched on it. That TIE fighters a whole lot. We really haven't seen them a whole lot so far in our Star Wars coverage.
Yeah, we haven't really.
But I mean, when you watch like the original trilogy, right, and you obviously it's TIE fighter galore throughout the original trilogy.
Right.
You get the sense that I at least got the sense when I watched them a lot that like the TIE fighter was not that good of a fighter.
Yeah, I kind of got that impression.
But in truth, especially seeing them the couple times we see them here in the Mandalorian, you really do get to see how good of a fighter it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see them, they don't look very big. But again, as we see them in one or two scenes in the Mandalorian, you really get you really see how big the TIE fighter truly is. It's got a lot of firepower. It has some. It's very fast. It's very mobile. It's a pretty solid, fighter in terms of space combat.
Yeah.
But we really don't get to see it a whole lot, except for in the Mandalorian, I would say at least. Maybe some in Rebels, but we haven't gotten there yet. And it's got a lot of firepower too. It's got a lot of punch behind its shots. And I just think that for everyone that's watched the original trilogy, we don't really get that feel from them because it's all about the good guys just kicking butt and doing what they got to do. But this is one of those instances I would say where we actually get to see some of the the positives of having the TIE fighter as your main fighter in fleets and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that was kind of off topic, but I feel I just felt like in this instance where we're actually getting to see some TIE fighter action, because as it progresses, we do see Mando engage the TIE fighters in the Razor Crest. Obviously Mando being Mando takes him out fairly easily, but we do get to see some of the upsides of him at this point as well.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. And Mando, he comes in, saves the day, destroys the remaining of them. And he has gotten the child, who still has those blue little cookies.
Yeah.
They blow up the remaining TIE fighter, and the child celebrates and shakes up and down. He's like, yeah, like he did it. And Mando goes, "Not too bad, huh, kid?" And then the kid just throws up some blue vomit. And then it cuts ahead to
Mando's flying was a little rough.
Well, yeah, and it makes sense, especially but it's just yeah. Yeah, yeah. But it cuts ahead to.
And then he uses his cape to clean up the puke too.
I didn't even pick up on that one.
Yeah, Mando grabs the end of his cape and just starts wiping the child's face and wiping the front of the child's clothes.
Yeah. But we cut ahead to Grief and Mando talking. And Grief asks if he can buy Mando a drink, to which he replies that he has some onboard maintenance to take care of. Which, more than likely, he's referring to the blue vomit.
Yeah, and we do get to see one of the pilots that we saw earlier in the season.
Oh, yeah, but just really quick. No, you're getting ahead of yourself, okay? Sorry.
Jacob, I thought we took care of that before we started recording. You started it this time.
I know it's my fault, I know, but I'm leaving it in the episode. Okay, so, no, going back, Grief says good luck, and off goes Mando and the child. Okay, we missed their goodbye. And then, yes, we see one of the pilots from another episode a little bit
Oh,
ago.
sorry, sorry. Going back again, Jacob.
Hmm,
And this is a real going back as well, by the way. I did
okay.
want to just specify too that Grief has he kind of relates to Mando that they're going to keep an eye out for Moff Gideon. Any information they can get, they'll pass it on to him.
Yeah.
As well. So he's got his allies now in the fold. They're gonna help him keep an eye out for Moff Gideon, see if they can't track him down.
Yeah.
Then they give that goodbye, and we, for the third time now, get to the point where we see.
Well, now hold on. I do have something to back up to. Okay. Yeah, we see Trapper Wolf. That's the pilot from earlier, and he's questioning Grief about that base exploding, and Grief pretty well just denies knowing anything at all.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken,
Uh-huh.
he's really denying the fact that the Razor Crest was there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and he might be.
Yeah, because Wolf says, how long after the Razor Crest jumped, and then Grief kind of interrupts, like, I didn't say anything about the Razor Crest. He brings up some transponder logs and whatnot to try and be like, well, I know they were here, blah, 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 blah. But, it's essentially like, Wolf is getting the report of what happened. He's getting the information to file his report with the New Republic. Just, crossing T's, dotting I's type of thing.
Yeah. But he talks to Kara and asks if she'd join, like basically asks if she'd join the New Republic. He mentions that there's something big happening. He mentions her home world. He says that he served during Alderaan. Asks if she lost anyone, and she says everyone. Which is kind of a stupid question to ask, thinking back.
Yeah.
If she's from Alderaan, oh, did you lose anyone? Darth Vader blew up the entire planet. Yeah, you lost home, you lost your neighbors, you lost your best friends,
man,
probably.
Jacob, spoiler alert. We haven't covered A New Hope yet. Oh, my God. If you guys haven't seen it, get out from under your rock. It's 50 years old now.
Holy crap, actually Dude, it is almost 50
just
years
about
old, ain't
50
it?
years old, yeah. It's 45, 46 years old, somewhere around there.
Because it was released somewhere around 75, right? 1975?
Somewhere in there, yeah. 76, 77, right around there.
Yeah. Dear God. Okay, well, I hate this. I hate, I know that I wasn't alive during, when that came out. But really, looking at things we enjoy and then things we grew up with and then dating them, it's like, holy crap, those are old.
Yeah.
That's weird. Anyway.
But yeah, and anyways, yeah, it was kind of a stupid question to ask, really. I mean,
yeah.
Alderaan is gone. Literally everyone on that planet died. The only person we know of that was from Alderaan that did not die, the only two people, I guess, now, is Kara and Leia. That's it.
Yeah.
We don't know of anyone else, at least that I can think of on the spot. We don't know of anybody else that, grew up and lived on Alderaan that survived.
I wish that Bail Organa would kind of make an appearance, but
nah, he dead, man.
He probably is, yeah, for sure. Either way, she says that she's lost everyone, and he says sorry, and then leaves. But he leaves behind this kind of badge of some kind. I assume kind of being I don't know. I guess what would you say that is?
Let me get to this scene real quick.
Because it's not exactly like a calling card, kind of thing.
No, it's. So, do you know what a challenge coin is, Jacob?
A what?
A challenge coin?
Isn't that what they give you in school when you've been classified as challenged?
No.
No? Shoot, dude, I have so many quarters then. I thought they were special. I know
so
it's in
a
no way the
challenge
same thing. I
coin
just,
is
yeah.
it's a very common thing within at least the U.S. military.
Okay.
So essentially, it's like if you've rubbed shoulders with, like a higher up, like a general or something, like someone very high ranking, right? And like, have a conversation with them, they really like you, they give you a challenge coin. And there's a game that
Okay.
like lower ranking members within the military play every once in a while, where it's like you pull out your challenge coins. Whoever's rubbed shoulders with the highest ranking guy gets free drinks for the night, type of thing. It's like, oh, well, I've rubbed shoulders with this 3-star general. I've rubbed shoulders with this 4-star general. I've rubbed shoulders with the president of the United States.
Rub
Okay,
shoulders really sounds a little more inappropriate than I know it is.
well, yeah, whatever. But it's kind of like a proof of introduction, I guess, type of thing. And really, that's what this reminds me of.
Interesting.
I mean, I know it. I mean, in truth, it's just a rebel emblem, or I guess now New Republic emblem. But like, that's what it reminds me of. Some sort of like challenge coin, or some sort of like, you know, been introduced. I've met with so and so. I've done a good deed for so and so, a higher ranking member of whatever military or whatever organization.
Yeah. Huh.
That's what it. I would say that's what it reminds me of personally.
I see. But anyway, we cut then to the next scene, and we see a huge ship passing by.
Now
And
hold on, Jacob. Hold on a
what?
second. That is not a
What?
huge ship. I'm sorry, but it's in truth it's not.
Okay, fine. Evan, let's compare sizes. Go.
So this ship is known as an Quinton class cruiser. So if you were to compare it to a Imperial Star Destroyer, right?
Okay.
It's like comparing a unicycle to a freaking commercial airline.
Okay.
And that's
But guess
still
what?
not an accurate proportion comparison.
Guess what? You're comparing it, okay? I was going off of comparative size, right? It's huge in
Nah, it's
comparison
tiny.
to the child.
Sure, to the child, yeah, it's huge.
Yeah,
But I mean,
so
like,
in that very case, it could be huge, okay? I just
no.
said huge. I did not say in relation to what. It's relational size. That I feel like this could be an argument for something else.
Oh, it definitely could be. But, anyways, I'm going to give the true perspective of how big this cruiser is.
How is mine's not false,
Yours is way overselling this small cruiser.
but is it false?
You're really overselling it.
I'm not false though. I'm not wrong.
But anyways, back to the point. To give an accurate size comparison,
Mine
right?
is accurate.
Or I guess a real look at how big it truly is. Because yes, compared to a human, it's a very large craft, right? But when you
It's huge.
compare it to other starships, to other cruisers, to star destroyers, to battleships, whatever you want to call them,
Mm-hmm.
this is a small ship.
Okay.
Like the Razor Crest, I would say it would probably be an eighth of its size.
Okay.
Like for a real, like, to kind of get the sense of how big it is.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that'd be a pretty good equation there, So
Okay.
like, you could land one of these inside of like a Republic cruiser. You could
Okay.
land probably 4 or 5 of these inside a Republic cruiser in their hangars and still have space for other ships.
Hmm.
And so that's the one thing that bothers me with the Mandalorian is they show this cruiser and they play it off as this big, bad, destructive, humongous monster of a ship. But in truth, like, you compare it to your typical Star Destroyer, it's actually very small.
I see.
It's like a support vessel. It's like if you took like a an aircraft carrier, and you have a little tugboat going on along next to it. Is I would
Yeah.
say probably a pretty close
I'd say the
size
aircraft
comparison.
carrier then is pretty huge.
Yeah, the aircraft carrier is very huge, but that little tugboat is tiny.
Yeah. Now compare that tugboat to. I'm still stuck on this. I'm standing my ground. Dude, take a tugboat and compare it to an ant. Which one's huge in that case? Okay? I know that mine did not paint an appropriate picture, but I was still right. Right?
Yes, Jacob, you were still
Okay,
right.
that's all I wanted to hear.
Okay,
Anyway,
yes, you were right.
but so we're on this not
But
so
in truth,
huge
it's
comparatively
a tiny
huge
ship
ship.
compared to others.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, that is passing by. We go
Uh,
into it. That was, dude, that was like 5 to 10 minutes of us like just describing the size of this and arguing about it. But anyway, we see this like some sort of like, I want to say
uh,
general or something. This lady who contacts a bug-eyed little trash.
yeah,
Wait, contacts a who did they contact?
I'm trying to see if I can get a clear picture. You really can't tell.
I said bug-eyed little trash, but now I'm trying to think of what it even was.
Well, no, because I'm rewinding it back to that point, and it
Uh
looks
huh.
like from the sequel trilogy, the old alien lady that has a thing for Chewie.
Okay, so yeah, bug-eyed little trash.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Except maybe taller. I don't know.
I'm gonna call
That's what
it
it looks
a.
like.
I'm gonna coin this little thing a bug-eyed little trash waffle. That sounds kind of good to me. I don't know why.
Yeah,
Not like good as in tasty, but it sounds accurate.
that
Um,
that's what it looks like. One of those whatever her name was.
yeah, I didn't like that character at all. So anyway, they say that a device has been planted. Uh, and then she goes off to find Moff Gideon, who was looking at something. The bug-eyed little piece of trash was the thing that was repairing Mando's ship.
Yeah.
And
Um,
they say to her, I'm confused because, like I said, I'm reading my notes again, and these
yeah.
are dependent on the episode, and so without that to refer to, I'm not too sure on what I'm actually referring to.
And so I'm
Yeah.
trying to see if we get a rank for what rank she is, but all it says,
Okay.
at least with the caption, it just refers to her as officer.
Okay.
And I
Well,
really don't know the whole rank. I don't know the rank structure in general for the Empire, let alone figure out what rank is what with their little red and blue buttons on their chest.
yeah. But anyway, yes, this bug-eyed little trash waffle is reporting to her, whether she's an officer or whatever she is, saying that the device has been planted. We then She then goes in and finds Moff Gideon, who is looking at something in this room and can't really tell what. But she
Yeah,
clarifies, and we can't tell yet. We end up seeing kind of more of
they
a picture of it. But
yeah, as it pans out, they look like either robots or like some sort of suit of armor.
yeah, but at
Is
this
what they look
point,
like.
yeah, and she clarifies though that the device has been planted, saying to Moff Gideon that the tracking device has been installed on the Razor Crest. I just stuttered. So then Gideon asks if Mando still has the asset. She says yes. And then Gideon replies with, "We will be ready." He then looks at all these, whatever you want to call them. We end up getting a name for them. I wrote it in my notes, but I don't want to say it yet. Basically, like this, either a large robot type thing, like a droid, or maybe a suit of armor, something that's very
Yeah.
dark and kind of
From
looks more like a beefy stormtrooper.
from what we see here in this scene, like I said, like you said, it either looks like some sort of robot, some sort of droid, or like some sort of advanced set of armor. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
it is what it looks like. At least that's what it looks like from what we see here in this scene as it's kind of panning through before it goes to the credits. Um, but like you said, we do end up finding out what those are later on, but we're not going to talk about that because we're not there yet.
yeah. But as we see those, that ends up being the end of the episode. We fade to black, and then it goes into the end credits. So that is Mandalorian, Chapter 12, The Siege.
Yeah, and I just have to say,
Yeah.
I don't think the title of this episode was very accurate for the events of the episode.
No. If you just hear Siege and you start thinking of all the things that it could be, I feel like this episode would be very underwhelming.
Yeah, I feel
Um,
like this episode like would be more accurate as like the assault or the infiltration. You know, like because they're assaulting
yeah.
an imperial research facility or base, infiltrating
Yeah.
that base. You know, like I guess I personally I don't think Siege accurately depicts what actually happens in the episode.
No, unless it's like going off of what's about to happen, like as far as what we see regarding, Moff Gideon and like, but that would still be, I feel like, not accurately named necessarily.
Yeah, and I guess I get that kind of like false, not false advertisement, but like that false title.
Fake news.
Yeah.
Sorry.
um, because when I think of a siege, because I'm very into as I've said before, I'm very
Rainbow
into
Six
like
Siege. Yeah, you're pretty cancerous.
well whatever, um, tomato potato whatever.
Well,
But I'm really into like the sword fighting, bows and arrows, like medieval times, and so when I
Yeah.
think of a siege, I think of like a castle or a very fortified position, large army like assaulting it, that type of thing is what
Yeah.
I generally think of. And if anybody's seen the 2003 Clone Wars movie, um, which is not canon anymore. But if anybody ever has seen that one, there you do see a little bit of a siege, um, with the clones laying siege to the city that has like a ray shield over it. And again, it's still like a very fortified position, very fortified, city with a large army laying siege to it. Sending barrages to weaken the shield, to weaken the walls, to get through.
Yeah.
Your typical siege, but in a futuristic environment.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Whereas this episode is four people infiltrating a imperial base that no one knew about.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's that and the whole ship thing that they did there with that cruiser are my only two kind of, I don't want to say upsets, or like my only two faults with this episode,
Hmm.
I would say. And just to clarify, it's not even like they're big issues because they're the smallest issues possible. It's just for me that I like dive into the lore of Star Wars and
Uh-huh.
like really get into the backstories and like the specifics on stuff.
Yeah.
Like for someone like me that likes to get into that type of stuff, the technicalities, it's kind of something that like, well, that's not right. They're not portraying that accurately, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you.
And like I said, and it's still it does not
It's
bring down the episode in any way
right. It's
whatsoever. It's for
very
someone that has
minor.
a very nitpicky mind, I guess.
Yeah. I
So,
get you. But anyway, I mean, that's the end of the episode. Any final comments?
um,
I don't really have any. Do you have any about the episode?
I would just say, I guess this is just an overall comment,
Okay.
for all the episodes that we cover, and because
Yeah.
I really don't think we have a whole lot of final thoughts on episodes once we get to the end of them, at least for
We
Star Wars.
generally don't. No.
And I would just say, for those listening, like that's more of it's a lot easier to nitpick on the bad or on what we perceive as the wrong, or the faults.
Yeah.
Whereas when we go through some of these episodes and we get to the end, we're like, well, I don't have any final thoughts. Do you have any final thoughts? No. Well, it's hard to have final thoughts. It's hard to point out
Well, yeah,
when
because
episodes are so good, when there's
yeah,
like there's not those faults in them, and so just as an overall coverage for at least the Mandalorian so far, and for the next couple episodes that we cover as we finish out season 2, I would say just keep that in mind as you're listening. When we get to the end of an episode and no comments here, no comments there. It's because I would say for me at least, it's because these episodes are so well done.
Well, and I'm not asking for final comments being like if you have anything that's bad,
Yeah,
but I think that as I'm thinking about it now, it's like we probably don't really have any because I think you and I are both the types to comment on it as it's happening, not so much revisit it once we're done, kind of thing.
yeah, and
So it's like if we have any thoughts, we're probably gonna say them. But I guess still, it doesn't hurt in asking because maybe we come up with something. But yeah, I mean, there's no problem with not
yeah.
having
Well, and I
answers or
mean, with
whatever.
everything we've covered so far, the only spot where that I can remember where we've had issues with what is going on and where we might have where we had final comments at the end was like episode 2. Attack of the Clones with the whole Anakin weird, creepy
Oh
thing.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and again, like you said, I think that's more of like we make the comments as we're going along.
Right.
Um, but I would also say, and I think you would agree as well, both of us enjoy the Star Wars universe so much that like even some of the smaller stuff that we if it was a different franchise we would have an issue with. Like we enjoy Star Wars so much that it doesn't bother us.
Right, except for the sequel series because we don't even consider that Star Wars.
Well, yeah, I mean tomato potato.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway.
but yeah, other than that, that's just kind of the final thing I wanted to say pertaining to coverage of Star Wars. I just kind of wanted to put that out there,
Yeah.
just to clarify for past episodes and for the future episodes that we cover.
Yep. Well, I guess you want to throw in our goals and all that stuff, and then we'll be done.
Yeah. As always, every 1,000 downloads is a blooper reel, and we released the fourth blooper reel not too long ago.
Yeah. Yep.
So we're right around 4,000 downloads right now. So
Yeah.
spread the word, let everybody know, and we can get more of them out there for you
Yeah.
guys.
Yep.
And then those reviews, like Seth left for us the other day.
Yeah.
Every
Mhm.
100 reviews, we will be doing a live stream coverage.
Yeah.
Um, and once we're off the record, I would talk to you about that for maybe an adjustment there. But as of right now,
Okay. Sounds good.
every 100 reviews, we'll do a live stream coverage of whatever episode or part of a film that we're on at that time.
Yeah.
And as I've said every single time, it's on you guys. So if you guys want that live stream where
Yeah.
you guys can interact with us, ask questions, make comments, hear raw footage of our stupidity, go and leave those reviews
Yeah.
on Apple Podcasts.
Yep. Yeah. Other than that, you can find us on YouTube and everything's in the description, so we probably don't need to list it all out. But YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I have another podcast, but all that stuff is in the description, so we won't waste too much of your time. But please go check those out.
Yeah.
Other than that, we'll see you in the next episode. So.
Peace.
Deuces.